Hi, this is Dale with Lab Chat, and today we're talking with Katie from AI Biotech. AI Biotech is a large facility that does a lot of next-gen sequencing in Richmond, Virginia. Katie, would you mind telling us a little bit about AI Biotech and what you do there?
Sure. We are a biotech company that has multiple divisions. So we have a CAP-CLIA certified lab that does high throughput testing. We're also a contract research organization, so we do a bunch of projects for academia, other private companies, and then we also have a paternity and forensics division. So
I
we
see.
do a lot of different things.
I see. And you've been doing then a lot of samples, and you run sort of these systems quite a bit. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, our typical week throughput is about 700 to 1,000 samples in our high throughput lab. So we're running a lot of samples in 1 week.
Yeah, then that must have been challenging because you ended up scaling to that level over time, right? Can you tell me a little bit about those kinds of challenges in terms of scaling?
Sure. So when I started with the company, it was 2.5 years ago, and we had one next-gen platform, one next-gen instrument. And now we have 11 of the PGM sequencers.
Wow.
So just 2.5 years, we've scaled up a lot. And so it was just doing the R&D and then transitioning that over to our high throughput lab.
Mm-hmm.
And, as samples increase, then growing both the technology and the personnel to run it and working through all of that.
Can you give me a little bit more detail about some of the things that you had to face in that scale up in terms of, was it sample tracking? Was it sort of laboratory informatics? Was it, processes?
It was all of it, actually. So when we originally started, we had a very small accessioning group who would accession our samples. And now we have an entire support group that accessions our samples and brings them over to the lab to do the testing. And then we've had to grow our laboratory group so that we can handle all of the testing.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the back end, our informatics group, our IT group, has grown substantially as well to process the data that's coming out on the back end.
So a lot of that expertise then, did you end up just learning as you went along, or did you have to go ahead and, say, hire consultants or get advice from people or what have you?
A little bit of both. So I work in the R&D. I R&D everything that goes next gen to our production group. So on my end, it was a lot of learning, a lot of just running samples, seeing what would work. Our IT group started out as one person. So there we had to bring in consultants and start hiring more people. So it was a little bit of both.
I see. And I understand that you had early access to the Ion Chef, which replaced the One Touch 2.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
Well, we got the Chef in November, and basically we're told, because we run so many samples every week, see if you can run this instrument into the ground. Do as much testing as you can. Do everything you can so they could see where problems would be, what kind of issues there might be if the instrument is being used every single day with our sample load. So we did that.
Wow. As far as running into the ground, then, you just had it running 24 hours a day, basically?
Every single night I would set up a run. So it runs 2 chips, and then every morning I would sequence those 2 chips and set up another 2 that night. So we were running it every single night.
Yeah, for those of you not familiar with the Ion Chef, it takes the place of the One Touch 2 template preparation as well as the chip loading. Did you find it to be a really convenient process then in terms of what you were doing before?
Oh, definitely. So before we would load the One Touch at night, come in, you'd have to set up the ES while the instruments are getting initialized, then do the whole chip loading and everything. Now we can put it on overnight, the next morning, initialize the instrument first thing, and we have chips ready to go. So we can start prepping libraries again the next day.
Yeah, I understand one of the nice features is that you can set the time that you expect to do the run the following day, right? And so it pauses. Did you find that process to be super helpful?
Yes, it was great because I can set it if I'm going to come in at 9, it takes about an hour to initialize the instrument. I can set the chip to be done at 10, and then as soon as the instrument's initialized, the chip is ready and it goes directly on the instrument. It's great.
So that timing then was right on in terms of a chip ready to go, huh?
Yep.
Oh, that's great. And then as far as impact in terms of the overall sample throughput, was there impacts there as well because of the implementation of Chef?
Yes, we are actually going to be able to increase our samples because traditionally we had people doing library prep one day and then the next day was the ES and the loading and everything. Well, with the Chef, since all you have to do is stick the chip on the instrument, those people can be library prepping again the next day. So we're going to be able to turn around samples faster and get through more samples.
I see. Because basically you freed up hands to do other things.
Right.
Can you give me an estimate of how much your throughput increased because of that?
Well, I do know that our turnaround time is going to decrease about 24 hours.
Wow.
So, in a week, that could be an entire day's worth of samples. So if we're doing 1,000 samples a day, 1,000 samples a week, then, it's definitely going to increase.
Oh, that's great to hear. Then as far as that kind of productivity, then I presume then you'll plan to get several more chefs to replace the several other one-touches. Is that correct?
Yes. We currently have 11 PGMs, so we have, I think, 19 one-touches. So we'll be able to clear up some space and remove some of those and swap them out for chefs.
Well, thank you, Katie, for sharing your experiences about the Ion Chef with us today. If any of you in our audience have questions for Katie or AI Biotech, you can simply ask questions over Twitter at the hashtag LabChat. Also, if you're interested in learning more about the Ion Chef, you can go ahead and access the video right here. Also, if you're interested in more information about the Ion Chef, you can access information at lifetechnologies.com/Ion Chef. Lastly, if you're interested in doing a lab chat with us, say you have some interesting work that use some of Life Technologies products, feel free to contact us at one of the contact mechanisms below. Until we chat again.